My dear readers, in the tumultuous ancient landscapes of the Middle East, where history seeps through every grain of sand and tales of love, betrayal, and conquest are whispered by the winds, we now find ourselves witness to an act so barbaric, so devoid of reason, that even the seasoned cynics among us must pause and catch our breaths. The audacious, bloody incursion of Hamas into Israeli towns, their wanton slaughter of civilians, and their grotesque parade of abductees reek of a depravity that goes beyond the usual politico-religious skirmishes we've grown jaded to. Sure, one could regale for hours about the myriad complexities of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and by Jove, I've done it myself on more than one occasion. But the events that unfolded on Simchat Torah, the decimation of life on a day meant for religious celebration, present a moral clarity that even the most relativistic observer cannot ignore. Hamas, that ever-thuggish bully of the Gaza Strip, whose roots of extremism snake deep into a toxic brew of twisted religious interpretations and bloody aspirations, has clearly overplayed its hand. One can almost visualize them, drunk on the funds funneled in from their ever-generous benefactors in Qatar and Iran, planning this monstrous escapade with an arrogant certainty. And while we've always known of their nihilistic tendencies, hiding weapons in schools, using their citizens as human shields, this act, this nightmarish terror campaign, surely marks a gruesome crescendo. In the aftermath of this horror, a pressing and morally imperative question stands tall. How should the world respond? Some argue for calm diplomacy or a return to the negotiating table. And while those approaches have their time and place, one wonders, how does one negotiate with an entity whose core belief system is rooted in destruction and whose modus operandi is sheer terror? I propose a radical solution, rooted not in the annihilation of a people, but in the transformation of a territory. The Gaza Strip, under the tyrannical rule of Hamas, has become a veritable cauldron of hate. Instead of letting it fester, why not turn a significant portion of it into an unpopulated nature preserve? A swath of land dedicated to the planet, to beauty, and to life. An area where the only battles are those of survival in the natural world, where ecosystems thrive unmarred by the stains of human conflict. Such a proposal, of course, would come with its own complications. The relocation of innocent civilians, the logistics of creation and maintenance, and undoubtedly the ire of Hamas and their ilk. But consider this. The Middle East has long been a playground for human atrocities. Isn't it time we carved out a corner for peace, nature, and rejuvenation? Hamas, with this latest bout of savagery, has essentially signaled its intent to the world. It no longer wishes to be seen as a political entity with legitimate grievances, but as a horde of marauders willing to sacrifice the very essence of humanity for its twisted goals. And while the world, including myself, has often criticized Israel's actions and policies, one cannot equate a nation's security measures with the premeditated, cold-blooded massacre of its citizens. Then the ceaseless malevolence emanating from the likes of Hamas, it is not just an option, but a moral imperative for the world to recalibrate its compass. The dream isn't merely a Gaza bereft of radicalism's poisonous embrace, but one where nature's unyielding promise can serve as a beacon for a fractured people. This verdant vision isn't mere sentimentality. It's a call to resurrect a land that has been beleaguered by ideology and bloodshed. Every olive tree, every stretch of shoreline could echo tales not of rocket fire and subterfuge, but of renewal and resilience. Yet, let us not be naive. This isn't about nature for nature's sake. It's about the sanctity of human life, about cherishing the ideals that elevate our shared humanity above the morass of bigotry and hate. To stand idly by, to be cowed by the spectre of terror, is to abandon the innocent and the weak to the whims of the merciless. And that, dear reader, is an abandonment of our own moral fibre. In the grand theatre of history, moments come when silence is complicity and inaction a betrayal. The atrocities perpetrated by Hamas, their flagrant disdain for life and their unabashed celebration of carnage, serve as a clarion call. If we fail to heed it, if we let the dark shadows of extremism snuff out the possibilities of a brighter future, then we have not only forsaken the people of Gaza, but have also surrendered a piece of our own collective soul. We must rally not merely in defense of a nation's sovereignty, but in defense of the very values that define our civilization. Anything less is not just folly, it's a concession to the abyss.